You say you're looking at a lot of alternatives. You didn't say no to the possibility of the rainy day fund being involved in some way. So I'm going to assume that that's in play. We know that it's in play on water. The education community will say, hey, wait a minute, what about us over here? We sustained a pretty significant cut, historic, in the last session of public ed funding. We all think that public education is crucial to every aspect of life in Texas. If you're prepared to withdraw money from the rainy day fund for water, and you may be for transportation, why would you not be for education?
Again, only a liberal talks like that. We need to figure out. No, I'm not saying that you are.
It was the royal you. I get it. Right. Okay.
We need.
Yeah.
Evan, and you're bound to agree with me. We need to, whether we're talking about water, whether we're talking about highways, we need to sit down and figure out how much money needs to go into our priorities. I encourage the senators each time we're in session to zero base our government. If something's no longer, and this is not a good example, but if public education was no longer a priority to the people of the state of Texas, we shouldn't be funding it, but it is. All right. And across the board, the items which I just mentioned are large priorities. But in public education, we need to go through this process and see how much money that we need to put into our public education and fund it. You and I have a fundamental difference of opinion. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Yeah. We have a difference of opinion on the 2011 session. Our school formula, which I said over and over again to our senators, our previous school formula got us to a point, it was almost like a parabolic curve. It started up slowly and then it went up steep. And so as a result, only in government last year in 2011, when a school formula calls for us funding $9.2 billion and we fund $5.2 billion, is it a cut? No, it's a cut from the previous school formula and our school financing. But as you remember, we changed our school finance in the special session in June. So we still invested $5.2 billion of new money in. So we actually were putting by several hundred million, not billion, but several hundred million more money into our, what's called our foundation school program, our schools, even though we made cuts in the grant programs over in the
So your position, Governor, is that we did, I mean, the Governor somewhat now famously said earlier this session that we have phenomenally funded public education.
I don't think I said phenomenal.
No, not you. Governor Perry said. Governor Perry said earlier in the year, earlier in this session, that we had phenomenally funded public education over the last decade. I simply wanted to ask you if you feel that the funding for public ed right now is adequate, in the sense that you would not go back and restore, well, you know, in retrospect, maybe those cuts were a little steep and we shouldn't have made the cuts that we did, or shouldn't have funded it at the level we did, we should have funded it higher. Are you one of those? Because there are some senators and representatives who will say, in retrospect, we probably should have put more money into public ed.
Well, I think in general, yes. I think in general, yes, but in the specifics, that's what we have our budget process. That's what we have our Senate Finance Committee to look into, to hear the testimony, and to make a decision on what we need to invest in our schools. Our Senate opening budget, as you may or may not know, probably know, contains our enrollment growth and some amount for entitlements. Now, I would fully envision that a number of the senators would want to add in inflation.
Right, it's a start. We're at a start. We're at a base.
That's a start. And, but at the same time, I think we need to resist the temptation and keep several $billion in surplus so that we'll be able to fund the additional money that undoubtedly the courts will decide, whether it's on the target revenues or equity.
What have you.